Good evening, one and all. At the onset, I'd like to thank AFPI, Dr. Kamlesh Bhargava sir, and Dr. Devashish Saini sir, who is the president of AFPI Haryana chapter, for giving me this opportunity. We are a hospital located in Gurugram district of Haryana. So this is us. We are Artemis Hospitals. And this is the Department of Family Medicine and General Medicine that function as a single unit. As you'd be able to see here how this place of work has also been a place of joy for me for over the past 4.5 years and continues to be so. Although these are all pre-COVID era pics, obviously. Cut to the 4th of April 2020, when COVID shook our institution for the first time. A patient with history of fever and headache had concealed history of travel and throat symptoms and turned out to be positive. The entire department had to be quarantined. The hospital was faced for the first time with the entire department of medicine shutting down. Thus, I volunteered to quarantine myself in the duty doctor's room, where with the duty mobile and the hospital PC, assistance of ER and nursing staff and subspecialty departments, I assisted in patient management. Simultaneously, being the single SR in the department at that time, I also coordinated for the testing of all those exposed. Fortunately enough, everyone tested negative. Before all COVID arrangements could be set in place in our hospital, four family medicine residents and I were sent to Meteor Hospital, Manesar, which is roughly a 30-minute drive from Gurgaon, where three of the largest corporates of Gurgaon, Fortis, Medanta, and Artemis hospitals decided to admit all their COVID patients. Now, the problem was that with a mixture of staff and doctors from three different hospitals, with the added disadvantage of not working on home turf, things weren't easy. Not only did the hospital management support us brilliantly throughout our stay and work at Meteor Hospital Manesar, the hospital meanwhile left no stone unturned in gearing up for COVID. With the start of the new COVID ward, I was assigned to give feedback and incorporate improvements in the COVID ward functioning in coordination with all the other departments. And because I always believed in leading by example, although the roster of placing residents for COVID ward rounds was in my hands, I volunteered to start COVID rounds first on that roster. I remained the common point of contact for everything happening in the COVID ward from June to the start of September until on 3rd September 2020 when I ignored my body aches, cough, and just slept off at night taking a Signoflam. Two mistakes were committed here. A. Sharing the room with my wife because I was too scared to go home and give it to my parents. B. Neglecting my symptoms until matters worsened on 4th September and I had to get admitted to Holy Family Hospital, New Delhi with cough, fever, body ache, and giddiness. Why I got admitted to Holy Family Hospital, New Delhi, despite working at Artemis? Because my wife was currently employed here, and parents definitely had a sense of security knowing an insider and also a nearby hospital to my house. I tested positive on the RT-PCR on 5th September 2020. Persistent tachycardia, raised creatinine, and T inversions in lateral chest leads on the first set of investigations was definitely a matter of concern when clubbed with my obesity. Although these parameters, barring the tachycardia, settled the next day. I enjoyed great food at the hospital till the time taste and smell were intact. On 6th September, my wife had symptoms and tested positive by 7th September. So I plan to take an early discharge to isolate myself with my wife at her staff quarter. Loss of smell and taste were the most frustrating symptoms for both of us, causing irritability and emotional lability like we had experienced never before. It is definitely an anhedonia equivalent, if I were to say. 5 days of doxy and 3 nights of ivermectin, three different cough syrups, none of which seemed to improve my cough until Resvas and codeine had to be started. Steroids, although, was my call after an anxious reading of a new study regarding COVID sequelae in the patients with predominant symptoms of the respiratory tract. As you can see in the images, after 17 days of isolation, I was back in action. COVID has been a fabulous teacher. The quote by William Osler is up there for a reason. Doctors indeed usually make pathetic patients. Two extremes that predominantly exist are one, who know it all about their illness and do not seek timely care. Second are those who are too scared about what they know and go for an overkill rather. And I am guilty of traversing both these extremes during the course of this illness. From being ignorant about my symptoms in the beginning to anxiously popping steroids based on studies that I just read. Support systems, undoubtedly in the form of friends, family, colleagues, are of paramount importance in helping one tide through the frustrating periods of isolation. Well, in my case, on a funny note though, my wife and I had never stayed together for so long, not even during our marriage and honeymoon period. Knowledge can prove to be a bane if it breeds overconfidence and a boon if it brings humility. And what better example than this pandemic situation where a virus of merely 1 micron size has humbled the entire globe with two important senses gone. Like most infants, we also found ourselves bringing everything near our nose. This should not be done, knowing for a fact that smell is a protective reflex. Also, that said, hygiene, diet, and exercise have forever been important and will continue to be so. Been there, done that. Having fought this battle and faring rather well, all we family physicians have to say to challenges is bring it on. This wouldn't be an inappropriate time to look at COVID in the eye and push it 6 feet back, saying, शाखों से टूट जाएं वो पत्ते नहीं हैं हम आधी से कोई कह दे कि औकात में रहे